Hi everyone, it's Ryan from sonofvin. Well, I hope you had a happy New Year's. Hope you had some great wine, some champagne, Prosecco, whatever it is you like. Hope you had something that's really phenomenal. Well, we're starting off this new year with some wines that are near and dear to my heart. They're also near and dear to my home here in LA. Just north of Santa Barbara, in an area called the Santa Ynez Valley, is something that I personally have had a strong connection to. It is really where I found my own first calling with wine and learning more about wine and just understanding more beyond what I'd buy at the normal supermarkets. Back in the early 2000s, I would go up there for a nice quiet weekend and chill out and sample all these great wines, and one thing led to another, and I continued to learn more and more as time went on about wine. Santa Ynez Valley has towns like Vinson, Los Olivos, Solvang, Santa Ynez. There's a lot of these little towns in that vicinity that all have the same idea. They're kind of quaint, small, nice little quiet getaways. Until Sideways came out in the early mid-2000s. Once that came out, things started to change in that area. You had a number of tour buses coming in, you had signs out front of vineyards saying "as seen in Sideways." You had a bunch of things, and personally, I like the quaintness, I like the peacefulness I would get in that area, but at the same time I can understand how it probably helped business for some of these guys. Nowadays, those quaint little towns have become bustling with tourists, tour buses, Ubers, you know, what have you. I mean, I remember a time when cell phones barely even worked there, but now it's quite the party area. But you know what? The wines are still good. There's more options than there used to be. I can't really complain as far as that's concerned. Things have certainly changed, so let's get started here. Let me go down a trip with memory lane with you guys. So first of all, before I get to the wines that I have opened, I'm going to start with a couple that I am not going to open, just because there are way too many wines here to try to talk about as well as taste, and maybe there's little personal reasons involved. So we're going to start here with this one. It is called Frontier Red. Frontier Red is made by Fess Parker. Fess Parker is kind of the granddaddy, if you will, for this region. Fess Parker, actor, played Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett. You know, he became pretty famous that way, and I don't think he was really the first one to make wine in this area, but he's certainly the one to help push it forward to get people to be really interested in it. And as you'll see, a number of these winemakers actually got their start at Fess Parker's winery itself. So Fess Parker has a great facility for tasting, and they have their own great wine, but you know what? They also make this very cheap, lower end red wine that you can get at a lot of the markets like World Market and Bevmo and places like that. And I found myself, especially in those mid-2000s when I couldn't always get up to Los Olivos and Solvang in those areas, finding myself wanting that taste, wanting that flavor, so I could go to a supermarket and get this bottle of a blended red wine and still get that similar taste that I'm familiar with, that I've grown to love quite a bit. This one is called Presidio. This winery, unfortunately, has shut down recently. This winery was one of the first ones that I really connected with when I used to start going back there in the early 2000s. I wasn't much of a white wine guy, but I found myself actually being pulled towards what I had to figure out how to say eventually, Gewürztraminer. Gewürztraminer. Yes, it's Gewürztraminer. This Gewürz is phenomenal. It is very coveted by me anyway, and I can't open a bottle. I just simply couldn't bother opening one for this tasting because I know what it tastes like. I love this wine. In fact, I served this wine at my wedding. I love it so much. And that was obviously before they were shutting down, so you know, I was a little more open to giving bottles to people at my wedding. But so what makes this Gewürz so good to me is that I don't really like sweet things, but yet this wine has a hint of a sweetness to it. There's a bit of a bubbly, there's a bit of a sweet. It just had a very unique taste that went really well with spicy foods, which I really love. So I found myself being pulled by this wine quite a bit, and every time I went up there I bought quite a few cases And I always came home, you know, with a few less than I started with because I had some at the hotel I stayed at up there in Solvang or wherever before I even got home. But this is a phenomenal Gewurz. After I started having this, I went out to supermarkets and everywhere else looking for other Gewurzes that were similar because, you know, hey, I can't always get up there. And what I found was most Gewurz, especially like the rest in the US, like Washington and places like that, they're more of a drier style. They're not as sweet as this one. So I found myself expanding my search. I looked in Alsace. Alsace is also, even their ones that they label as a sweeter Gewurz are still much drier than this one. And I wasn't really sure that I was going to be able to find anything similar. So I expanded my search even further to Germany. And Germany has great Rieslings, but they also do make Gewurz as well. And I found that their Gewurz is closer to this particular Gewurz than any of the others I've had. So if I can ever get my hands on a German Gewurz from any of the great regions in Germany, I can at least know that it'll be fairly close to this one. It won't be all the way, but it'll be close. And that's a little solace knowing I only have a few more bottles of this left that I'm coveting. This is a 2014, so you know, give or take so many years that this thing will last. I just got to make sure and enjoy them before they go bad on me. But I miss the Presidio. The winemaker retired a couple years ago. I made a trip up there, one last trip, and got as much as I could. He only had one bottle of this available that I pried out of his hands. That's how few they had left. But it was always coveted by a lot of people, but don't know why, but he decided to retire. One thing that I find very interesting about this area just north of Santa Barbara is that I like reds more anyway, but I just find that their reds are more phenomenal than their whites. Again, I think this is biased because I just really prefer reds, but they just have some really knockout reds. And it seems like that part of the country, the northern part of Santa Barbara, Santa Ynez Valley, all that area, it does really well with the Rhone style of grapes. Now, again, I know there are some that are expanding beyond that. Some are actually getting into like North Italian, as you'll see, but a lot of them kind of stick to those Rhone varietals. You've got your Syrahs, your Grenaches, you know, all the GSM, all that stuff that everybody loves from Rhone tends to do very well there. Some people do Pinots there. There's like Dragonette. I don't have any of Dragonettes here, but they do really good Pinots. And you know, I can't obviously open all the bottles that from that area. But you know, I've been going up there so long that some of my favorites have long since gone. Daniel Gare was another one I liked. He just retired a few years ago as well. And things have kind of changed, you know. I go up there now, there's so many more wineries, there's so much more options. It gets a little overwhelming when previously I could go there for a weekend and feel like I accomplished tasting most of the options up there, while now I go up there for a weekend and I've barely scratched the surface. So it really has changed quite a bit, but you know, life goes on, things change. I just will stick to the ones I love as long as they're around, and I'll try some new ones. Speaking of new ones, Blair Fox is actually a newer one I've just started getting into about a year ago. The wine is named after the winemaker himself, Blair Fox. I think he worked his way up to, he's one of those that he worked his way up through the Fess Parker winery system. And I'm not sure if he still works there at all, but he started his own label, Blair Fox. And he has done a really phenomenal job of focusing on solid Rhone style reds as well. He makes a really good Syrah, but this particular wine is actually a Grenache. It is a 2015 Grenache by Fox. Let's see, it's called the Fox Family Vineyard. Now, I already have another Syrah here, so I decided to open this Grenache, and it fits to the T what you expect from a really knockout Grenache from this part of the country. I do really enjoy it. I find that Blair Fox does make really awesome Grenaches. There's lots of fruit in this wine. It has some nice amounts of tannin, And there's just a really cool bit of an aftertaste that I enjoy from this particular Grenache. Next wine I've got here is by and large my favorite from that area at this moment. When I first started going in the early 2000s, I found myself really realizing I like Syrah. I like the Syrah from that part of the country. I started trying all the Syrahs from all the vineyards up there, you know, as best I could. I found that I kept coming back to one particular type of Syrah from one vineyard called the Colson Canyon Vineyard. And in those days, a number of different wineries all made wines from Colson Canyon Vineyard. Over the years, it slowly started changing, and eventually I found Tinsley, this one here, Tinsley 2015 Syrah from Colson Canyon Vineyard. I discovered that Tinsley, these guys make Syrah from Colson Canyon, and I was wowed by it. It was not only was a Colson Canyon my favorite place for Syrah, but Tinsley just knew how to amplify its already amazing taste. And eventually I think he picked up on the fact of how good Colson Canyon makes Syrah because he purchased the vineyard Colson Canyon. So I don't know now if anybody else gets to make Colson Canyon Syrah or if he's exclusively making it, but I really don't care. I just keep buying it from Tinsley because it's just so awesome. They're such a good winery that I enjoy some of their other ones. He focuses a lot on the GSM style as well from all the Rhones, but yet it's just the Syrah. You know, you look at his label and you look at what he offers, and he offers a lot of Syrahs from all these different little vineyards. But to me, this is the tip of the iceberg here. This is Colson Canyon Syrah. You're not gonna find anything better as far as it goes. There's just a strong, it's such a thick looking Syrah. There's a lot of color. It's just an overall crazy good amount of aroma. The tannins are really sharp. You know, some people think that Syrahs have really mild tannins. This one has a lot of tannin in it, and the acid's just a solid amount as well. I know he's actually ended up winning a lot of awards off of his Syrah. Specifically, I think the Colson Canyon. He continues to get like 99 pointers and whatnot from various professionals who do testings. But you know, what can I say? I enjoy wines from Tinsley quite a bit. Next we got Lucas and Llewellyn. Lucas and Llewellyn's actually been around. They're one of the older ones in that part of the area. They've been around for quite a while. They do a lot of different varieties. They're all over the place as far as what they offer. In fact, if you're looking for a bunch of types that maybe these other wineries don't offer, they tend to offer quite a bit. They are one of the larger ones. They've been around a long time, and I know they've got national distribution, probably a lot more than the rest of these guys. So there's chances you might be able to find Lucas and Llewellyn at one of your more nicer, higher end wine stores in your area. For this particular one, I opened a Petit Verdot 2012 from Lucas and Llewellyn. Not a lot of people make single Petit Verdot bottles like this. There are some others in this part of the country that do, but I know these guys do. Petit Verdot typically is a blending grape, but in this case, they're actually used on its own. And I actually do appreciate the taste and the aftertaste, you know, the finish, all of that from Petit Verdot. It just has a very unique taste to me. For my final opened bottle, I have a bottle here from Arthur Earl. Arthur Earl is also one of those that's been around a really long time up in that area. From the first time I ever went up there, I was enjoying Arthur Earl wines. They are the ones who do have a lot of other different varietals as well. They like to focus on ones that maybe not everybody else does as well. They are the ones who do focus more on the North Italian varietals. In fact, this particular wine is the Sangiovese 2012. There's just something about making a North Italian style wine in Southern California. Just, you know, you kind of place those two together, and it's a very interesting mix. but they do it quite well, and they have some of the others. And to be honest, when I first started going up in the early 2000s, these were the guys that I was first discovering what Sangiovese was, what Barbera was. A lot of those that you hear about from northern Italy, these guys had. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to kind of learn the 101 about grapes, 101 about wine from this part of the country, because there was a lot of opportunities. So as far as the wines overall go, I'm actually using a Blair Fox glass for my Blair Fox wine. It's pretty amazing. The amount of strawberries that come off of this is quite good. The coloring is very, it's a thinner wine. It actually, you can see through it a little more. There's more of a red here. It's a beautiful wine for Grenache. Grenache is lower on the scale for me than Syrah, but when it comes to, gee, I want a Grenache today, I'm gonna pick this one out. This is one of them I'm gonna choose. As far as my favorite Colson Canyon Syrah, there's just this amount of black berries, just dark berries, a little bit of fig, a little bit of just so many different things whenever I smell this thing, that it's overwhelming in a sense, just how strong of a Syrah this is. It's very unique. The Syrah from this part of the country is so good. So over here we got Lucas and Llewellyn. There's a bit of this like black pepper that comes off of Petit Verdot that I always find very, very particular. That just says, yes, this is a Petit Verdot. The coloring on this, it's definitely a lighter red than you're gonna find from like the Syrah. There's a bit of a pink as well. I don't know how to describe that, but it just seems like there's just a hint of a lighter color. But the tannin on this Petit Verdot is quite strong. And I think that's why it gets blended into some other wines, is because maybe the other wine is a lighter tannin, and this one can kind of help blend it into something better. And as far as these wines go, this is by far the thinnest. It is very, very thin, which it could be the age, it could also be the berry. Sangiovese is a thinner berry, so it's gonna have a thinner wine to it. But the aroma on this one it's a bit of an olive. Yeah, there's quite a bit of olive on this. It definitely has an odor that stands out among all four of these, that, you know, it's very unique in the scheme of these. The rest of these all kind of fit in the same category, and this has kind of got its own thing going on. The aroma is very, very different, but the taste itself has still a bit of that olive. It's like you're eating a couple olives whenever you're drinking this wine, but it's just something very unique about it that's just amazing. If you haven't yet, I highly recommend you check out Santa Ynez Valley, just north of Santa Barbara sometime. While it's not as quiet and as peaceful as it used to be whenever the days of me going up for a nice quiet weekend, you know, they still make phenomenal wines. You can just go to Los Olivos or Solvang and just taste your day away and be happy. Or you can drive to all the little different tasting rooms at the vineyards by other wineries as well. You can check out Buellton. You can check out all the different little areas around there, because there's so many other little towns that have wineries as well. But there's so many options when it comes to wine up there that you could spend quite a bit of time just exploring the different wineries. And Solvang itself is quite an interesting little town. It's like Disneyland, if Disneyland was a town and not put together by Disney. Solvang is very interesting. They have some good breakfast options and good sausages for dinner. There's a lot of tour buses though, so make sure you go early enough, and you know, maybe even go during the winter. They have some cool festivals during the Christmas season up there. But regardless, Solvang, Los Olivos, great little towns to just drink your day away, taste, enjoy, try the different foods. But I highly, highly, highly suggest these wines that I've tried today, as well as the rest of the wines that these guys offer, as well as just explore, find the ones up there you like, but just give Syrah, give all the Rhone varietals a chance. Move on from Cabernet and all of those. Try something new, something different. Have a good time and enjoy these wines. Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been an easy one for me because these are all wines I love quite a bit already. Um, maybe next time I'll see you up there. Who knows? Maybe I can get you a free tasting. I do go up there enough that I'm clubs with I have a club membership with a number of these guys, so maybe I can get you in for a free tasting. But I know they'll appreciate it because I always walk away with a number of bottles, and I know they're happy for that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please like the video. Please comment, tell me anything, give me ideas, tell me what I'm wrong about, and I will see you next time. Take care.